Fairness is the perception that one's situation is consistent with one's expectations. What is important about our framework is that we consider fairness not by looking at a particular definition or a standard, because judgments of fairness can be very difficult and controversial. What is fair for you might be unfair to me. Our focus is on expectations, and we simply ask the question, are the expectations that people have reasonable? And are their expectations violated?
So really, fairness is about the context, it's about the geography, about the person's personal experience and how they form these expectations. And so what's really interesting about our framework is that we allow that context to matter. And we've also understood fairness in terms of the structure of the marketplace. And this leads us to an idea of structural fairness, where we combine these ideas of fairness and power, which really hasn't been done that much before.
There are two main conditions that are important for evaluating claims of unfairness. The first is that a person must be in a position of relative dependency on others. And the second is that they must have an expectation that they feel is violated. We consider relative dependency and violations of expectations as the basis for our framework for evaluating claims of unfairness.
Well, one of the main arenas that farmers bring up when you ask them about issues in the poultry industry is the tournament. And the tournament is a ranking system that ranks farmers in comparison to other farmers on the basis of how well they did at production. However, they don't control any of the inputs into that process. They don't control genetics, they don't control feed, they don't control veterinary care, yet they're still ranked by others in comparison with other farmers in their neighboring area. And so they consider this a very unfair system because they're in the same structural position as the other farmers, and why aren't they getting treated the same way? Why are they getting lower income versus another farmer that's in the same structural position?
You have, consider the situation where you have two poultry growers. They have the same inputs, they may have the same number of barns, they may have the same experience growing chickens. Because they are in a similar situation, they may have an expectation of being treated fairly and being paid the same price. But if the tournament system ranks them differently so that one is paid more than the other, the grower that receives a lower payment will have a basis for making a claim of unfairness.
So ultimately, we think our work has a lot of implications for policy, particularly in the realm of contract law and also within the realm of antitrust law. Antitrust law right now doesn't have very good ways to determine ideas around relative dependency or around fairness. And so we're hoping to provide a way to assess agricultural marketplaces that are based in farmers and consumers acting in equitable ways. We're really interested in what are the implications of our research for potential new policies in these arenas.